Welcome back to the channel, Goats. And today, I want to talk about Mbappe. I want to talk about the nightmare that he's currently living. So let's start off with his PSG career. Okay, he's been playing in PSG since he was since he left Monaco, right? 2017. So in all those years, since 2017 to 2023-24 in the Champions League, he managed to reach one final, which was 2019-2020, the pandemic era, which they lost against Bayern Munich. And in all those times, he reached the round of 16 four times, reached the semifinals twice, and lost one of the finals. So during all those years, he managed to get to one final, right? And let's compare that to Real Madrid. Real Madrid has won the Champions League 3 times since Mbappe started playing for PSG. Most recent, 23-24. So Real Madrid go and win 23-24, and they look amazing. I guess other than the final, they played a little shaky, but they had the best player in the world at the time, Vinicius, got robbed from that Ballon d'Or, playing amazing. And they say, you know what? You know how we can make this team better? Let's bring in the guy that has been rejecting us for years. Saying no to us for years, laughing in our faces pretty much when we really, really needed him. Right now that we don't need him. He wants to come for free. So you know what? Real Madrid says, yeah, let's go and get him. Even though he plays the same position as our star player, as our best player. Even though we don't have a striker, but let's bring him in. Even though we have 3 players that play pretty much the same exact position, let's bring him in. Let's see how we do next season. So they go out and get Mbappe for free. And sadly to say, it didn't turn out good. His first Champions League season wasn't terrible. I mean, he scored 7 goals, got 1 assist. It wasn't horrendous, but he didn't do anything other than that Manchester City hat trick. That Man City hat trick. And in the quarterfinals against Arsenal, he disappeared. He did nothing both legs. Meanwhile, you compare that season, last season, 2024, 25. You go out and look at what PSG did. What did PSG do? They barely made it out of the knockout stage. They barely made it out of the group stage. Went to the knockout stage. Won. They kept on winning against good teams. Made it to the final and absolutely smacked Inter 5-0 in the most one-sided final I've ever seen. It was undoubtable who the best team was. Like you watched that final and you thought to yourself, how in the world did Inter make it here? That's how bad they played. Well, that's how bad they got outplayed. PSG looked incredible. And what they do, they went out and won their first ever Champions League. First ever Champions League. Why? Because of Luis Enrique. He said it before. He said Mbappe. There was that famous video where he tried to tell Mbappe to run back or to press or whatever. And Mbappe did not give a fuck. He didn't care. And he kicked him out the team. And everybody was making fun of them, saying they lost the best player in the world. And look at them. They went out and won the Champions League. Meanwhile, Real Madrid, what happened to them? The team got completely overthrown because Mbappe coming in, some players weren't happy. Some of our stars weren't happy. And we've seen that him and Vini, they score goals, yes. They link up well sometimes, yes. But they just don't work because you need a striker. Mbappe is not a striker. He's not a striker. He plays the same exact position as Vini. If you see the games, you see him always tending to go to the same position. He's never in the box where he's supposed to be. You need that hold-up striker that can link well with you, just like Benz was back in the day. We need somebody like that, and we don't have it. And we desperately need it. And let's look at this season. This current season, Mbappe had a great Champions League season. Yes, scored a bunch of goals. I think he scored 15 goals. 15 goals this season. Unplayable sometimes, right? Then he goes out and towards the end of the Champions League group stage, he gets injured. He scores a goal against against Benfica, then misses the next game because of injury. Misses the first game of the Manchester City against Manchester City in the playoffs, and comes back the second game, does nothing. We still win because of that Valverde hat trick. And then after that, we go out and play Bayern München. And what happens there? He scores a goal in the first game. He scores a goal in the second game. But if me and you and everybody watching are honest, he should have had at least 3 or 4 goals in both of those games. Man could not finish to save his life. And yes, Neuer had a good game, but let's be honest, most of those saves any goalkeeper would have made. A couple of them were world-class saves, but most of those saves any keeper would have made, man. Easy saves. He should have finished better. One of the reasons we lost. Especially the second game. He had so many incredible chances. Yeah, not even talk about Vini, but we got knocked out in the quarterfinals again. So first year, he gets knocked out in the quarterfinals with Real Madrid. Second year, he gets knocked out in the quarterfinals with Real Madrid. Meanwhile, what does PSG do? PSG has a similar story to us because they did not have a good group stage. They barely made it as well to the playoffs, got through to the playoffs, and had a tough outing. They had Liverpool. They had to go through Bayern Munich again in one of the best semifinals I've ever seen in my life. Smacked them up 5-6, and then just a couple of days ago tied 1-1. Barely went through, but went through convincingly. I would say they played very well. They were the better team, even though yes, some robberies, this and that. But if we're being objective here, they deserve to go through. Bayern did not do enough to go through, and they are back in the Champions League final, back to back. So if last year we say, you know what, it could have been a coincidence that PSG reached the final, right? The same year that Mbappe left. Yeah, we could chuck it up and say maybe it's a coincidence, right? Maybe it was the first year he left. It just happened to coincide with them winning the Champions League, right? Okay. But back to back, and they're playing against Arsenal, which in paper should be an easy game, but I mean, you never know. But still, at the end of the day, they still reached another final. Back-to-back finals as soon as Mbappe leaves. And Real Madrid had won the competition before Mbappe joined. Mbappe joins, and they don't make it past the quarterfinal. Back-to-back. Going trophyless, back-to-back. So you tell me, please, I want to know. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this? Because Mbappe's living a nightmare, man. And to just put the cherry on top, Dembele goes and wins the Ballon d'Or. Just to put the cherry on top before Mbappe wins it. As soon as he leaves, PSG win the Champions League, Dembele wins the Ballon d'Or, and they make it back-to-back Champions League finals. It's insane. And I don't think it's a coincidence, honestly. I mean, something has to happen. I know that. I'm not an Mbappe hater. You know, he's a great player. I'm happy to have him in the team. But I'm a firm believer that we cannot have Mbappe and we cannot have Vini playing the same team, man. They just don't work. We've seen it 2 seasons in a row now. They don't gel together, man. It just doesn't blend. They don't have the chemistry. It doesn't click. Something has to change because we can't do a trophyless three-peat. No, sir. That will not fly. Something needs to change by next season. And please let me know what you guys think. Is it a coincidence that as soon as Mbappe leaves PSG, they win their first Champions League and then make it back to the Champions League final back to back? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think, please. Please drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys the next time. Peace.